Track and field at the 2023 Pan American Games kicks off on Sunday in Santiago, Chile, and it's pretty much flying under the radar this year relative to all the other competitions. The games are generally a much bigger deal considering they only happen every 4 years, and they also include every single sport. You're essentially talking about an Olympics for all of North and South America. That's an entire hemisphere of top athletes. At the last games in 2019, we saw Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, Elaine Thompson-Herah, Shericka Jackson. They all won gold medals. You even had names like Yulimar Rojas, Alison Dos Santos, Juan Miguel Echevarria, and a bunch of other top names who competed in Lima, Peru. This year, yeah, it's pretty much looking bare bones. So we're gonna preview the sprints, jumps, and hurdles, but let's first talk about why this year's event isn't really on most fans' radar and why most top athletes are choosing to just skip the games altogether. Of course, if you'd like, you can check the timestamps below and fast forward to the event previews for whichever event you'd like to check out. Now, the main reason the Pan American Games this year aren't getting a lot of attention is essentially because of timing. The games are running from October 29th to November 4th. Literally, a top competition this year in November. The last time something this late happened was the 2011 Pan American Games, which occurred in late October as well, and it saw a bunch of top athletes also skip out on the meet. Additionally, it's so much later than the World Championships as well as the end of the Diamond League season. Remember, Worlds in Budapest ended in late August while the Diamond League final was capped off just a few weeks later in middle September, right? Most athletes are essentially checked out at this point and ready to take their break. And we've even seen some athletes already back in training preparing for the Olympics next year. So the timing was just not conducive to top athletes making their way all the way down to Santiago, Chile for a major competition. One other point is that the Pan American Games unfortunately doesn't have the prestige that it once had. Prior to the 1980s, events like the Pan American Games, Commonwealth Games, and other major competitions for a select group of countries were more widely recognized since the Olympics was only every 4 years and was the only opportunity to compete against all the best in the world. But with the introduction of the World Championships in 1983 and the increased frequency from every 4 years to every 2 years in 1991, this essentially decreased the prominence of any other meet outside of the Olympics and World Championships. So today, few top athletes choose to compete at the Pan American Games, or if they do, they generally don't take it nearly as serious as athletes of the past used to. But regardless of how it's represented on the global stage, I still wanted to give the opportunity to showcase some of the athletes who will actually be competing here, as many of them are either on the rise and may become prominent in some of the coming years, while others are already at the top of their game and essentially just looking to add on to their already amazing 2023 season. But whatever the case is, let's dive into these sprints, jumps, and hurdles. And if you're interested in how to follow and watch the meet, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check the description below for all the links you'll need for results and live streams. Now, huge caveat, we're not gonna see names like Noah Lyles or Oblique Seville or, Shericka Jackson or Sha'Carri Richardson. None of those people are gonna be here. But we do have some high quality names who are going to be hopefully putting down some great marks. Now, we do have a couple guys who have actually already broken 10 seconds in the 100-meter dash who are entering this competition. Felipe Bardi, Eric Cardozo, Rano Longa, right? These guys have run 996, 997, as well as 999 respectively in the 100-meter dash this year. Now, they haven't run it consistently, but they are, of course, leading the pack when we're talking about the field here. You do also have a couple guys who are under the 10.15 second range who I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for to see if they're able to get into that 10 low. Potentially one or two other guys get into that sub 10 range. On the women's side, when we're talking about the 100, Courtney Johnson, she's run 11.05. We also have Kennedy Blackman, both of them from the United States. Blackman has run 11.02 seconds. So just on the cusp of that 11-second barrier. You also have Jasmine Abrams from Guyana. Definitely keep an eye out for her. She hasn't run super fast this year, but last year she definitely made a name for herself running, I think it was 11.07 seconds in the 100-meter dash, breaking that Guyanese national record. Now, aside from some of the other women, right, I'm looking at a few women who are under 11.20 seconds who will hopefully be making some strides when we're talking about the 100-meter dash here. Moving up to the 200, mostly I'm looking at guys who are in the sub 20.5 second range to really make an impact here. We have Jose Gonzalez Soto. He's going to be leading the pack with a season's best of 20.24 seconds. And then just behind him, Giancarlos Martinez, he's run 20.29 seconds. So very much in the realm, getting close to that 20 low range. Don't think anyone's going to break 20 seconds when we're talking about the games here, but really nice to see a couple guys, again, mostly in that sub 20.5 range to make an impact and potentially challenge challenge for the podium. On the women's side, we do have a few women competing. One notable name, Marlita Polino. Now, she, of course, is the world champion in the 400-meter dash. She's run 48.7 seconds. What's notable about the 2023 season is that she's significantly improved her both 100 as well as 200-meter speed. This year, she's coming in with a best of 22.71 seconds. So I'm very much looking to see what she's going to be able to do when we're talking about the 200, especially coming off that legendary season that she's had over the 400. But she's not even the top-ranked 200-meter runner here. She's going to be going up against Cecilia Tamaro Garza, who has a best of 22.45 seconds this year. So by far the fastest woman in the 200. And I know that there's a few other women who've run sub 23 seconds. That's who I'm really looking forward to, and in that range to potentially get onto the podium. Now, on the 400-meter side, the men, a little bit lacking, but we do have a few guys who have broken 45 seconds. Lucas Carvalho, he's run 44.79 seconds this year, as well as Richard Johnson, 44.80 seconds. So just under the 45-second barrier. We're going to see if those two are going to be the ones fighting it out for, the top medals. But I'm also looking at a few guys who are in the sub 45.5 range to really challenge for a spot on the podium. Again, we're not looking at like 43 seconds, right? These are a lot of the guys who are just breaking the 45-second barrier, likely getting into that 44 high to 44 mid range. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing, if someone's going to win the gold medal in a time like that. I also do want to give a shout out to Anthony Zambrano. 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, he got the silver medal, running sub 44 seconds there. Now, he's been injured since then, right? We didn't see him at the World Championships in Eugene. We didn't see him in Budapest. He's been dealing with some injuries, but now he's going to be competing at these Pan American Games. Hasn't run fast this year. He's only been in the 45-second range, but who knows? He could really step things up, and the Olympics is next year. This might be his springboard to potentially getting back on the podium. On the women's side, very, very slim down field when we're talking about the women's 400. Two women that I'm looking out for though, Aaliyah Abrams from Guyana. She's run 50.20 seconds this year. She's running, I think, in a couple diamond leagues. And, of course, she competed in Budapest, and she is very much, rising as a prominent athlete, especially representing Guyana. Just behind her, though, we do have Roxana Gomez for Cuba. She has made the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games final in the 400, and she has run 50.60 seconds this year. So these are the two women who I'm really looking forward to in this 400-meter dash. But again, relatively slim down field when we're talking about the women's 400. Now, on the hurdle side, the men's 110-meter hurdles, we have three guys who have run 13.30 or faster this year. Davion Wilson, 13.26. Rafael Pereira, he's run 13.26 as well. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, he's run 13.28 seconds. So three guys who are in the 13.2 range. Pereira actually is very, very strong. He's been very consistent over the past couple of years, and he has a lot of potential. So who knows what he's going to be able to do. But, this is a relatively strong field when we're talking about, guys running 13.2 or better. So let's see what happens with that. For the women's 100-meter hurdles, this might be, one of the top athletes competing in the entire games. Alacia Johnson. Now, she, of course, made the World Championship team last year. She's been running through the Diamond League, finishing top places when we're talking about the 100-meter hurdles, and she has a best of 12.37 seconds. She is by far one of the top favorites in any event across the entire Pan American Games, and very likely, is going to walk away with the gold medal. Now, anything can happen in the hurdles, so who knows what might actually go down, but Alacia Johnson, by far and away, one of the top athletes in the world, and definitely one of the top athletes at these Pan American Games. Behind her, you do have a few women who have run sub 13 seconds or just about 13.0, but Alacia Johnson, she of course is the name in this field. Women's 400-meter hurdles, I'm going to talk about that first because we do have Gianna Woodruff. Gianna Woodruff has been one of the most consistent hurdlers over the past couple years representing Panama. Yes, she hasn't gotten onto the podium at the World Championships or Olympics yet, but she did make the 2022 World Championship final there. She competed at the Tokyo Olympics. She competed at the Doha World Championships. She competed in Budapest this year. 54.46 seconds this year. Gianna Woodruff, very much the heavy favorite when we're talking about the women's 400-meter hurdles. On the men's side, very slim down field. We're not going to see Alison Dos Santos. We're not going to see Ryan Benjamin, but we do have Gerald Drummond. He's run 48.11 seconds. Chris Robinson, 48.12 seconds. And then Jaleel Hyde from Jamaica, 48.45 seconds. Don't sleep on Jaleel Hyde. He didn't have as strong of a year in 2023, but don't forget that he made the World Championship final in 2022 in Eugene last year. So Hyde might be one to really step things up, potentially run sub 48 seconds if he really pushes it, but who knows? Again, we're talking about a competition in November, right? End of October, November. not looking to see if anyone's really going to step things up too crazy. But let's jump over to the field now. Women's triple jump. This might be the top competition of this entire games. We have Thea Lafon from Dominica, 14.90 meters. What, she finished fourth or or fifth place at the World Championships this year. Huge personal best on the cusp of 15 meters. You also have Perez Hernandez from Cuba, 14.98 meters. She got the silver medal at the World Championships this year. She is very much a problem. And then you have her fellow countrywoman from Cuba, Povea, who's jumped 14.87 meters this year. So this is arguably the top competition. We're talking about 3 of the top women in the world in the triple jump going into the Pan American Games. Definitely keep an eye out on the progression of this event, right? I know the triple jump has always been one of my favorite events, and I love to see these top women, really pushing through and competing here despite it being at the end of the season. So look out for that competition here. On the men's side, we also have some very strong competitors. We're talking about Martinez from Cuba, 17.51 meters this year. We have Christian Napoles, 17.40 meters. Amir Dos Santos, 17.24. Chris Bernard, 17.18. So relatively strong field when we're talking about guys in the 17 low to 17 mid range. Now, we're not seeing Jaden Hibbert from Jamaica, right? He unfortunately got injured a little bit in Budapest, so we're not going to see him here, but probably not going to see some of the top high 17 meter jumps. But I'm liking the field when we're talking about the men's triple jump, just like I'm liking the women's triple jump field. Now, finally, over to the long jump. First on the men's side, we're unfortunately not going to see all the top Jamaicans who, cleaned house when we're talking about the podium in Budapest. But you do have Arnovis Delermo, who's jumped 8.29 meters this year. So kind of approaching that mid 8 meter range. So we're going to see how much he's able to step things up. And you do have a few other guys who have surpassed that 8 meter barrier. So looking forward to seeing what these guys are going to be able to do. On the women's side, again, you're not going to be seeing these top names that we saw competing in Budapest, but we are going to see Leticia Oromelo. She's managed to jump 6.73 meters this year. So she's going to be leading the pack. Also, Tiffany Flynn from the United States. She actually competed at the World Championships last year in Eugene. Didn't make it this year, but she has jumped 6.70 meters this year in 2023. Also, there's a few other women who have jumped in the 6.5 or above range when we're talking about the long jump. They're definitely going to be putting some pressure on the other women to potentially get on that podium. So that's, general overview of some of the sprints, jumps, and the hurdles that are going to be going down at the Pan American Games. Again, this competition is happening extremely late in 2023, so you're not going to be seeing the top names that we would usually see throughout the season, but don't let that diminish some of the other athletes who are going to be competing and going for some really top performances to hopefully set themselves up well for the 2024 Olympic season. So definitely let me know your thoughts about the Pan American Games overall, right? Some of the athletes who are competing, who might you be looking forward to? But also about the games in general, right? Do you think it's an overall complete negative that it's happening this late, or maybe there are some positives that you can pull out from it happening, late October, early November? And do you think that we should see more big name athletes competing at the Pan American Games, despite it being just before an Olympic year, late in the year, and all those factors, right? Let me know what you think. Go in the comments below and check the description. I'm going to leave a link for not only the results so you can track the meet, but then also the live stream where you can watch the meet and be able to follow along for the entire week. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back again next time. Thanks for watching.